Welcome to Green Dot Daily. I'm Maria Marino. We're live every weekday at 3 Eastern on the Action app and YouTube channel. Today on the show, we'll talk college hoops with Charlie DiSturco and Greg Waddell, plus Nick Giffen will give out some props. But first, upset city last night in the NBA, starting with the Cavs, who were down 22 in the fourth quarter and came back to win by a point thanks to a career-high 23 points from Dean Wade that snapped the Celtics' 11-game win streak. Cavs were plus 310 on the money line. Meanwhile, in Dallas, a fourth straight 30-point triple-double from Luka Doncic wasn't enough as the Mavericks fell to the Pacers, who were plus 190 on the money line. Mavs have lost 5 of their last 6 games following a 7-game win streak. And finally, the Nuggets erased a 22-point second-half deficit, but Kevin Durant's 35 points, including 8 in overtime, led the Suns to victory. Their moneyline odds were plus 320. So a Cavs-Pacers-Suns moneyline parlay last night would have paid out at about 49-1.
He's going to go on and on and on about the rest and how everybody's on back-to-back.
How dare you put words in his mouth?
They celebrated like they won a championship. I got to find some type of way to fade them.
LA nightlife is undefeated.
Call me a hater if you want. Blech.
Hey, these guys are too soft, man. I keep saying it.
That's why it's true, because it makes me look smart.
Yes, time for more money with Matt Moore and Jay Money. Hi, guys. So we saw the Mavs last night as another example of kind of a two-faced team in a very tight Western Conference playoff race. And as we look at the current play-in teams, we got the Kings, Mavs, Lakers, and Warriors. Which are you buying and which are you selling here, Matt?
I'm going to buy the Lakers. So I have them power raised that actually the fourth best team in the West right now. That's based off of they're really good versus these sub 500 teams, and that's a lot of it. I'm not buying them to make a playoff run, but I do think they're going to get in. Their record with Rui Hachimura, LeBron, and AD playing this season, they're 24-15. That's 61%. That puts them firmly in that kind of conversation. They've said all year they just need to get healthy. They're healthier. I don't know how much the guys that they've missed matter that much compared to LeBron and AD, who have played a lot, but they are healthier and they figured some stuff out. And D'Lo's playing well at the right time. Now, I don't think D'Lo's a guy you can trust in the playoffs, but I do think he's worth go ahead and considering in the regular season. I do think the Lakers are going to get into the playoffs as either a 7 or 8 seed. And if they face the Thunder, they're going to be live to win that series. And we'll see if they can pull off a repeat of last year. I'm going to sell the Kings. Look, their win profile is just shaky and inconsistent. You can't trust them on any given night. You saw that the other night when they blew a huge lead to the Bulls at home. They are not dominant at home. They're not exceptional in any capacity. They're 10th in offense after they were top 3 last season. They're 20th in defense after they were middle of the pack last season defensively. You can't really count on who they're going to be. And so even especially if they fall into the play-in tournament, which I have them projected to currently do based on power rating, whenever they're in these tough environments, Domantas Sabonis sometimes has a real problem in winning his minutes. You're in a one-game environment, even if you're at home, I think it's going to be really tough. I would want to take the Mavericks as bad as they've been lately. I would still want to take them over the Kings. Most of these play-in tournament teams, I would take them in a one-game playoff over the Kings. I think this team needs a shake-up in the offseason. I'm not willing to buy them right now. I think they're a sell.
Jay, what about you? Who are you in on? Who are you out on?
Yeah, I'm still in on the Warriors in this one, man. I still think this team will put things together at the right time. I trust them in a win or go home versus any of these play-in teams. Even any one of these play-in teams, I trust them in a win or go home spot as well. Hopefully, that's the Kings. That is the team that I'm going to sell. And this is not the same Kings team from last year that snuck up on everyone. Everybody knows what they're going to do now. They're going to run and gun. They're going to shoot a ton of threes as well. I think that they're frauds. I think that they have some things possibly going on in the locker room. I agree with Matt. They're probably going to shake up some things in the offseason as well. I don't think that it's the coach. I just think that they're not necessarily gelling, talking about guys like De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis as well. So they're a really great offensive team, but it always goes back to what I always like to say. They don't really play enough defense to scare me as well. They've had at least 3 blown 20-point leads this year, and it all speaks to defense. If you can get stops, you don't blow those 20-point leads there. They're coming off a game where they blew a 20-point lead versus the Chicago Bulls in that one as well. So I'm buying the Warriors, continuing to buy the Warriors, and I'm selling the Kings this year.
You know, it's also a really bad sign. Losing by 50. By the way, no team in NBA history has ever won the title after losing by 50 points. Look that up. No team has ever done it. So we can go ahead and cross those Warriors off. I can't believe you're buying the Warriors, man. They're 10-20 versus teams over 500 this season, Jay. Like, look, they are not as bad as they were when they were under 500, and that's adorable for them. Congratulations on returning to the perfectly average team that you are. This isn't 2022, man. You got to let it go. Father Time has not just caught them. He has caught them, clubbed them in the back of the head, and thrown them in a closet. The Warriors are done.
I'd like to go on record and say I love when Matt disagrees with me.
Well, I was not expecting that outburst from you, Matt, but I like it. We're getting spicy here. Listen, the Kings are at plus 210 to miss the playoffs. Warriors are at minus 120 to make it. Lakers minus 140 to make it. And yes, don't worry, we're going to keep a record of all of this. Okay, let's get into picks for tonight now. Jay, who you got?
Do have a play for you guys tonight. I'm taking SGA over his 30.5 points. It's actually a game that we don't really want to talk about, to be honest with you. Blazers versus Thunder, but this is an MVP case type of game for SGA in my opinion. This is a stat pad game for SGA in this one. He averages 31 points per game this season. It almost seems like he looks up at the scoreboard and makes sure he has at least 30 points in almost every single game. He's coming off a bad game versus the Lakers where he only scored 20 points in 29 minutes. So this is a bounce back J spot here, Maria. I know you like when I say it, but bounce back J spot tonight for SGA going up against a soft defense. I think he can do whatever he wants in this one. And like I say, this is a solid game for him to continue to build his MVP case. He leads the league in points, total points scored as well. I think he can do whatever he wants tonight. So let's go, SGA. I need you to go for 40 tonight and build that MVP case.
That's right. SGA scored 20 last time out against the Lakers. Cracked 31 in 4 straight games prior to that. Now, another key matchup tonight is the Warriors after that beatdown by Boston that Matt brought up, but they are hosting the Bucks. Matt, how are you betting this one?
Yeah, I'm going with the under 227 here. I'm going to return to this trend I got the other day because it continues to hit for us. The Bucks are top 5 in free throw rate this season. Since the All-Star break, those teams that are top 5 in free throw rate, 28-6 to the under. The officiating has changed slightly. We're seeing, I talked to some analytics people, we're seeing fewer bump fouls on drives outside of the paint. So all of those really kind of soft bump fouls, we're not seeing nearly as many of those right now, which means teams are not getting into the bonus as quickly. In Bucks road games, the under is 18-11. Now, the overall trend for Warriors home games is to the over, but the under is 5-1 in the last 6 Warriors home games. So all that combined, compounded by the injury status for a couple of these guys, especially on the Bucks, and I'll take the under 227 in Warriors versus Bucks.
Yeah, I think that's a safe way to go, given that Giannis is questionable with that Achilles tendonitis. Andrew Wiggins back after a 4-game absence due to personal reasons for the Dubs. Looking ahead to tomorrow, do want to get your thoughts on this because we got a clash between the Celtics and Nuggets in Denver. And maybe if you even want to predict the line, go for it, Matt.
All right, let's talk about this one. So the Nuggets off of a loss the last 2 seasons. So since this iteration with KCP, et cetera, when they've got Jokic and Murray playing and they're at home off a loss, 16-3 straight up, 12-7 against the spread at 63%. So a good trend there for Denver. They are great in these kind of environments. These are the 2 teams with the most championship equity. Okay, they definitely are the 2 teams that we expect to meet in the finals. I'm going to make a prediction right now. We will not see this as the finals matchup. There's too many plot twists in the NBA. But for Boston, I think this is a prove-it game. And honestly, they need to not win this game by margin. And what I mean by that is, we know Boston can beat these teams by 17, by 10. They have the most double-digit wins in the NBA. Their problems are in the clutch. And despite Denver losing in overtime last night, Denver has been the best clutch team in the league the last 2 seasons. They are elite when games get close, especially in Denver. If Boston can win a close game on the road versus the defending champs in a close game environment and actually have their offense function and not do what it did last night and melt into a puddle yet again, that's going to be yet another feather in their cap. It'll give you even more confidence that maybe this is finally the year for Boston. For that to happen, Kristaps Porzingis is going to have a massive game. He's going to have to take advantage of switches. He's going to have to space out Jokic. This is a game where if Kristaps Porzingis is going to be the difference in the Celtics finally winning a title, this is the game in the regular season that I want to see him show it.
Absolutely, 100%. Jay? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I can't wait to watch this game. I'll be at this game. I've been looking forward to it. I won't be able to sleep, just like a kid on his first day of school. I will not be. I'll have my clothes all lined out and ironed and everything. I cannot wait for this game. This is the matchup versus the defending champs, and then the team that's going to win the championship this year. In my opinion, I think this is a statement game for the Boston Celtics to show that they are the best team in the NBA. This is a bounce back J spot, and it's a revenge spot as well. The Nuggets ended their home win streak on January 19th, 102 to 100. This is a revenge spot. I do think the Celtics get some revenge, and I actually think that whether they open or close as the favorite, I do think that they win this game, and I'm going to guess that we're going to get Celtics -1, but if they are underdog, I'd absolutely love it. Celtics to the moon in this one, and I know that the Nuggets have been really great at bouncing back off home losses the last 2 seasons, but they haven't faced a team like the Boston Celtics, so I'm liking the Celtics in this one.
I think the line's a really interesting question here about what this is going to be, because I was skeptical about when Jay said before we went on the air that he thinks the Celtics are going to be favored. I was like, you can't have the Nuggets as home dogs. I will say this. I've got it power rated exactly where Jay's got it. I've got it power rated at Celtics -1, even with the Nuggets having this massive home court advantage. However, my power rating is a little bit under what the market has been on Denver consistently. So I do think that, honestly, we might be in the middle here. My impulse was Nuggets -1. Now I'm kind of like, you know what, this might be a pick. Like, doesn't that feel like maybe the best way to go here is make this a pick in Denver and then have Boston favored significantly? They were huge favorites in Boston in the earlier matchup. I think the market probably realizes that was not the way to go. It'll be very interesting to see where the money comes in on this game as well, given all the factors involved. This is a fascinating game, not just from a basketball perspective, but it's going to be fascinating to watch the market move when this market does open later today.
Agreed. Fascinating. Also, hey, you guys are both in Denver, maybe even a meetup on the horizon for the two of you at this awesome game. By the way, you can catch Matt Moore as part of our NBA bet stream. That's for Cavs Hawks tonight on League Pass within the NBA app, starting at 7:30 Eastern. Matt and Jay, always a blast. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure, Maria.
To the college hardwood, here are some of the bubble teams for the NCAA men's tournament. Bracket Matrix takes 125 brackets and composites them together. Of those, 88% had Villanova in the field, 83.2% had Seton Hall in the field, and 63.2% had St. John's. Outside the Big East, 35.2% had both Colorado and Wake Forest. Each of these teams looking at a 10 or 11 seed. So with that, we bring in Charlie DiSturco and Greg Waddell. Greg, I believe, making your GDD debut. So welcome. We're going to run through each of these bubble teams. You can tell me whether you guys are buying or selling their stock right now. So first up, St. John's. They've won 4 in a row, so their stock is up. Charlie, buy or sell?
I'm buying the Johnnies. Yeah, I have the New York City basketball shirt on right now. Over the last month, Bart Torvik ranks this team number 17. Now they have had a couple of easy wins, but that does include, blowing the doors off of Butler and beating Creighton on Madison Square Garden's floor. Jordan Dingle has been the reason why I'm kind of buying this team. We saw early on, especially in non-con and early conference play, he just couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. Well, now in the last 4 games, he scored 18 plus 3 separate times. He's shooting 65% from the field in the last 4 games. So we're finally seeing that second scorer that the Johnnies desperately needed. Dennis Jenkins can't do everything by himself. So I look at this team. I trust Rick Pitino. They have a top 10 experienced roster, a bunch of transfers that, it took time to gel. Now, there's that unathletic comments that Rick Pitino's made, but I actually think this team has responded well. They can crash the offensive glass. They don't turn the ball over as much of late, and they're forcing a lot of turnovers in Big East play. So I think all this goes toward me buying the Johnnies team. I think they're live in the Big East tournament, which will be played on their home floor in Madison Square Garden. And I trust Rick Pitino when it comes to the big dance.
Greg?
It's gonna be a popular pick on their home court. And Charlie, I must say, I love the New York basketball hoodie. That's nice. I actually wore my all white today in tribute of Rick Pitino. But the thing is, just because I'm wearing all white actually doesn't make me any better or worse at my job. It's kind of just a little bit of a gimmick. I'm selling this St. John's team. Shout out to Stuckey and Mike Calabrese from Big Bets on Campus, who have finally, over the course of 3 months, taught me how to sell high, because this is peak value for St. John's, in my opinion. They've won 4 straight games. Everybody loves them right now. If you go all the way back to February 1st, they have 5 wins total. 2 of them came against DePaul. A third came against Georgetown. A fourth is going to come against Georgetown this week. They have 2 wins since February 1st against anyone that's not those 2 programs who everybody's beating. One of their other 2 wins was Butler, who, oh, by the way, has lost 5 straight before they got to play DePaul. I think this is a massive schedule break. I really don't think this is a significantly better team. Dingle is making shots, as you said, but you have to adjust for the quality of opponents they've been playing. The Creighton win was phenomenal. I need to see them do it to somebody else of that caliber before I buy.
I think, it's interesting, Greg, by the way, you're wearing white, but you should be wearing black for the Johnny's funeral, if that's what you think. But, it comes down to, Joel Soriano, if he's able to play. But I think that we've seen, and I think that the struggles, right? This is my opinion, is during their struggles, we've seen guys like RJ Lewis and Zuby Ejiofor and other players step up off the bench. That is something that we needed, and a massive plus for this Johnny's team, because someone like Soriano and Dingle have been so brutal that we're finally seeing them come around. Now, is it because, they've played weaker teams? That is a proponent and possibility. But against Creighton, we finally saw Soriano and Dingle come to life. And I think they could take advantage of plenty of teams. We saw against UConn, they were in it until like the final 8 minutes, and then they just couldn't have that offensive boost, which Dingle and Soriano playing better does provide, at least in my opinion. So I'm going to roll with the Johnnies and Rick Pitino because, it's Rick Pitino.
Fair enough. All right. Save some energy because we got a few more teams to get to, including a couple in the Big East and another one being Villanova, whose stock is up. So, Greg, I'll go to you here. Buying or selling on Villanova?
I'm going to buy Villanova. I'll be honest with you guys, though. The more we talk through these Big East teams, I'm just not really convinced anybody's good. On a scale of Big East teams, I will buy Nova, though, as a team that could make a run into the Big East tournament. The difference for me, Justin Moore is actually playing well for what seems like the first time in 2+ seasons now. He was a phenomenal player pre-injury. He really, really was not good for much of this season, and it kind of hurts to even say that out loud because it's not his fault that he's dealt with all of these injuries. But man, it was like a month straight he was in single digits in the scoring column. 4 of his last 5, he's finally been in double digits. He looks better just passing the eye test to me. And this team does have a high ceiling. Let's not forget, they were the Battle for Atlantis champions, a field that did include North Carolina and Texas Tech, 2 of the better wins that Villanova has this season back in November. If they can play to their ceiling with Justin Moore healthy, I think this team could make a run in the postseason.
Charlie?
Yeah, I mean, listen, you're not going to see me push back on this one. I honestly, have no idea what the heck to do with this team. You look at their metrics. Well, they're top 20 in 3-pointers, and they are bottom 20 in 3-pointers allowed. So this is a completely variance-oriented team. We saw early on in conference play, they struggled, and then we kind of seen, Hausen come alive, Moore come alive, and now they're shooting the 3-ball well. And what does that lead to? A lot of success. So, are they capable of a deep tournament run? 100%. Are they capable of losing in the first round by about 40? I could see that happening as well. I think Eric Dixon does provide this team, with at least a higher floor just because of his versatility, especially in the Big East. He's able to drag out Kalkbrenner, Klingen, big men that otherwise just sit in the paint, and he's able to hit the 3-ball, which is why we've seen Villanova kind of have some success of late, even Oduro out of Providence. So I'm not buying, I'm not selling. I'm just kind of watching that stock just kind of move on.
And you'll be watching again tonight because it's an intriguing matchup between Villanova and Seton Hall. Now, Seton Hall's stock is pretty steady. Are you buying or selling Seton Hall right now, Charlie?
I'm selling the Pirates. My uncle would be upset with me for going against this team. But listen, at the end of the day, I just don't buy this team because of their offense. They're 298th in 3-point offense. They don't shoot a lot of threes. And aside from Kadari Richmond, there isn't much on this team that I'm like, oh, wow, I like this roster. They give up a lot of threes. And when you dig into the metrics more, shot quality has them 180th in open 3 rate, in the 270th or worse as far as total teams in college basketball defending catch and shoot and off the dribble threes. This offense is just not very good unless Kadari Richmond's able to get a triple-double, which, he's more than capable of doing. but I'm selling this team. I just think that there's a lot to be had. I think that Shaheen Holloway still has his hands full. I don't think we're going to see a nice little Cinderella run out of the Pirates. And quite frankly, I agree with Greg. I think that this Big East team, I'm not sure that there are many good ones in this conference. And I don't know if all these teams should be getting looks at bids in the tournament. Seton Hall, must-win game tonight. If not, I would be surprised if they make the at-large.
Yeah, I'm going to buy. I'm jumping in. I'm going to buy. I hear your point, Charlie, and I just got to push back on the concept of, outside of Kadari Richmond, there's not a lot. I agree with you, but that's like saying outside of Charlie being on this segment, there's not a lot. You're on the segment, my friend. Like you're crushing it. Kadari Richmond's one of the best players in the country, like bar none. He's a superstar. And when you get to postseason play, especially in this Big East where we have questions about every other team, you're going to want to have the best player on the floor. And I think more often than not, that's exactly what they have. I think everyone's panicking with Seton Hall right now, quite frankly, because their last two games, they had to go at Creighton and at UConn. They got blown out in those games. A lot of good teams get blown out in those games. Unlike Villanova, unlike St. John's, Seton Hall has a bunch of wins against the middle of the pack teams in this conference. They've been really good against the quote unquote bubble. I do like this team. I do have offensive concerns, like you said, Charlie, but as long as the ball is in Kadari Richmond's hands, I'm going to believe in this team in March.
Just pushing back slightly. I hear your point on the whole, they've beaten the middle of the pack in the Big East. But this is a team, when you look at their metrics, they're outside the top 45 in both offense and defensive efficiency. It's just one of those teams that I think maybe they get in because the Big East, no one knows how to cap this team, and they're better than some of the bubbles, and they have the wins against, the Providences of the world. But, when you break it down and push comes to shove, I just don't see this team being able to go, shot for shot with they're going to be a 10 or 11 seed, getting where they're matched up with a 4 or a 3.
They went shot for shot with UConn and Marquette, though. We've seen it this year. 2 big wins.
Okay. Enough Big East talk. Let's keep it moving. We're going to go over to the ACC. A team whose stock is down is Wake Forest. They've lost 3 straight. Greg, buy or sell?
I'm going to buy versus Clemson, this final game of the season for Wake. Again, desperation, right? After getting jobbed at the end of the Georgia Tech game on what should have been a travel, they end up losing that game. Suddenly this is win or go home. And I think even if they win, they might be going home. I don't know if they have a path to the NCAA tournament, barring making a deep run in the ACC tournament. That's okay. I don't know. This team under Steve Forbes for years now has been doing this, right? They show flashes throughout the regular season. You get really excited about them. And then it comes time where they just have to stamp the resume with the marquee win, and they falter. And you thought the win over Duke was that. They followed it up with 3 losses, including 2 to 2 of the worst teams in the ACC in Notre Dame and Georgia Tech. It's really hard to buy them in general. I'd love to buy low, but I don't see a path to them to the NCAA tournament. I will buy them in the final game of the season at home against Clemson.
Would you look at that? This is me and Greg agreeing on something.
Hey,
here.
yeah.
I love Wake Forest against Clemson on Saturday. I wrote about this in my weekly spots piece. I think that this is an absolute smash spot for Wake, that, the Georgia Tech loss even helps my case here, that I think that they'll easily cover this number. They're a different team at home, and obviously that Georgia Tech loss stings, but there was a travel at the end of the game that wasn't called. I will say that. But listen, this team is just hard to read. And we talk about the Big East, and if we don't know if anyone's good in that, the ACC is a 3-bid league. I don't think North Carolina, Duke, Clemson, those are the 3 teams that deserve bids. At the end of the day, we can't be dealing with these bubble teams of Wake and Pitt. It's just one of those things that they leave a lot to be had. And aside from this game against Clemson, where I think they can take advantage of, Clemson's shortfalls and play better at home on senior night, where they've had, wins of 33 to Pitt, 29 NC State, 29 to Syracuse, 25 to Louisville. We've seen them blow the doors off of teams. Love them on Saturday, but I'm not so sure I can buy them to, make a run in March.
Well, good to see you guys agreeing on one of these. But finally, a team whose stock is rising. Colorado on a 4-game win streak. Greg, buy or sell?
I have to sell this team because I'm still worried about Cody Williams' ankle. If this team was at full strength, I would see it. I think the talent is 100% there, But the story of this entire season has been their injuries and then their problems trying to reintegrate players back into the lineup. They've had stretches without KJ Simpson, stretches without Tristan Da Silva, now stretches without Cody Williams. And they finally got all three of those guys back earlier in the season. And it took a while for them to actually start playing up to the caliber of the talent on their roster. I don't think in March you can do that easily. Like this is not a time of the season that you want to be moving parts around. I think they're going to have to do that. They end the season 2 away games here at Oregon State. Oregon State certainly doesn't have much to play for. You can make the argument that Oregon does. I think this could be tough if Cody Williams is out and or not 100%. I'm not believing in the Buffs until he's back and he has a couple games under his belt.
Yeah. This is probably me disagreeing with Greg once again. Who would have thought? Listen, at the end of the day, I do agree with Greg in the sense of Cody Williams is the X factor to this Colorado team, and his health is completely, goes hand in hand with Colorado's success. If he's not playing and it's the Pac-12 tournament, I'm not going to bet on Colorado. But let's say he has an ankle injury. Let's say in a perfect world he's back for the Pac-12 tournament. I'm buying this team to win that tournament as a long shot. They're a top 25 team when they're fully healthy. They can draw fouls at an elite rate. They shoot the 3 ball exceptionally well. Now, that's not their moneymaker. They look to take it inside and use their physicality. But this is also a team that cleans the defensive glass, defends the perimeter well. They don't foul. They play the game the right way. They're extremely experienced. If they have Cody Williams back, and I understand the concerns with, does he integrate fully? Yes, that's a concern. But when push comes to shove and you look at, talent on the roster, I would argue that Colorado is the second best team in the Pac-12 and more than live to beat Arizona despite not being able to in the first 2 games. So I'm looking to buy the Buffs as a long shot in the Pac-12 tournament, and I'll be placing, a wager on them, assuming we see Cody Williams return over these next couple of games.
All right. I think this was a nice, healthy discussion. And now that we've kept our audience waiting patiently, let's go ahead and get a pick for tonight. And it's my understanding that we're going to have a bit of a collab situation here. We have number 4, Tennessee, at number 17, South Carolina. And Greg, you're taking Tennessee minus the points.
I'm taking the Vols here. And look, after all the trials and tribulations that Charlie and I have been through today, we thought that this would be the way to wrap it up together. A camaraderie play the world can get behind here. I love this spot for the Vols, and I believe Charlie wrote about it earlier this week. It's just a great spot. It reminds me of Purdue's spot against Illinois last night. I was at that game in the building. Purdue's a better team than Illinois. They had a chance to clinch the outright championship on the road against the team that is not as good as them, desperately playing to backdoor their way to that title. That's what Tennessee can do tonight against a South Carolina team that the metrics still don't love. South Carolina had a really fortunate schedule in conference play in the SEC. They only got Alabama and Auburn once. They lost by 27 to Bama, 40 to Auburn. Those are the other 2 quote-unquote elites based on any sort of analytics sites you want to go to. Tennessee's the best team in this conference, though. They're rolling right now. And I get it that they lost the first game, but I actually like that for Tennessee in this spot because you get the revenge narrative. But more importantly, the reason Tennessee lost to Carolina the first game, they shot 5 for 21 from 3. I cannot see that happening again. I understand this game is being played on the road. This game could be played on Pluto. Dalton Connect's going to put the ball in the rim more than 5 for 21. I love the Vols big tonight.
Yeah, listen. I have right here
Oh,
a Tennessee shirt because we're collabing on the Vols here. Listen. At the end of the day, since February 14th, the Tennessee's been the number 3 team in the country. South Carolina is outside the top 50 in both offensive and defensive efficiency in that same span per Bart Torvik. They're 3rd in the country in luck for Ken Pom. They've owned me this entire season, right? They've absolutely shredded me against A&M. But like Greg said, San Connect in that game, UT shot 29% from the field, 15% from 3. They could double Dalton Connect all they want. He's still going to score. They can double him all they want. He's still going to find open shooters. And all this team is going to be motivated to put on the gas and absolutely blow the doors off South Carolina, make a statement, win the SEC, this is an elite defense, Tennessee. And we saw that they shut down South Carolina. They're going to do the same. And they lost by 4 while UT had one of its worst offensive showings the entire season. Lost for the first time ever at home this season. I'm back in the Vols in a big win. Rocky Top, you'll always be home sweet home to me. Go Vols.
Oh my goodness. Well, Charlie, look, I have to give you credit. You made us think throughout that entire segment that you weren't sweating with that second layer under there and that second sweatshirt. But this has been super fun. Charlie DiSturco, Greg Waddell, thanks so much for joining Green Dot Daily. Hey, if you've ever wanted to try the best version of the Action app, that time is now because we're running a special offer on Action Pro. To celebrate the start of the NCAA Tournament, you can try Pro Access for just $9.99 for the first month. With Action Pro, you get our biggest betting model edges, real-time money percentages, data-driven systems, Sean Kerner's NCAA Tournament player prop projections, and lots more. Just visit actionnetwork.com/madness to take advantage before this deal expires. That's actionnetwork.com/madness. Now for some props, we bring in our predictive analyst, Nick Giffen. Couple of fun top 25 matchups on the slate tonight. Let's start with number 2, UConn at number 8, Marquette. Where are you going with this one?
Yeah, well, you just mentioned those pro tools and the prop projections. Well, I'm powering those as well, not just Sean. Let's be clear about that. And the number 1 edge for today's slate is in this game here, and that is Stephon Castle over 2.5 assists. You can get that at plus 135. But I also like Tristan Newton over 5.5 assists in this game at plus 105. So 2 UConn assist overs. It's National Assist Day. I'm telling you right now. Sean had National Rebound Day. I think it was a week or 2 ago. It's National Assist Day because every prop I'm giving is an assist over.
Love it.
But this is a great spot against Marquette. Marquette is kind of an ideal opponent for assists. Not only do they allow the 30th highest assist rate out of all 362 Division I teams, but they also are somewhat up-tempo. They're 70th nationally in pace. They don't have a great shooting defense, so it's not like they're forcing teams to miss a lot of shots. They're just right around national average in shooting defense. They don't foul, 37th lowest foul rate. So that means more possessions are going to end in shot attempts. And they're not a great defensive rebounding team. So if UConn's able to grab some offensive rebounds, and that could create some second chance assist opportunities as well. Plus, with Tyler Kolek out, he has a really high steal rate. So while Marquette does force some steals, having one of their highest steal rate players out will reduce that steal rate, meaning a few extra possessions could end in shot attempts as well for UConn. So definitely like the matchup here for both Castle and Newton. On Castle particularly, he should see a lot more minutes. If we look at UConn's last 7 games, the average margin of victory, they've won 6 and lost 1, but the average margin of victory for either team that won has been 27 points with a minimum of 19. In other words, when these games get blown out late, they're pulling him. So he's only averaged 28.7 minutes in those games. But prior to that, when UConn was playing a whole lot more closer games, he was averaging 31 minutes. And earlier this year against Marquette, he had 3 assists in just 24 minutes because it was a blowout. But this probably shouldn't be a blowout, right? I mean, you can see there the line is 5.5. So
Right.
if it's not a blowout this time, I'm projecting him for over 30 minutes and closer to like 3.5 assists. So getting plus money on over 2.5 is amazing. Like I said, this is the number 1 edge for today's slate of games. And then on Newton's side, he had 8 last time versus Marquette in 33 minutes. There's upside for 37 if this or more, if this game stays close. So I'm projecting 6.5 assists in 33 minutes. So clearing 5.5, 62% of the time. So the goal is to hit one of these two because they're both plus money. If we just go 1 and 1, we still make money. So that's nice. But if you just wanted to take one, I'd take Castle here.
Love the breakdown. Rooting for the dimes tonight. All right, let's move over to number 20 BYU at number 6 Iowa State, and we're keeping the assist theme going.
Yeah, so BYU, Iowa State, Curtis Jones over 1.5 assists, -150. I've only seen it available at one book, so hopefully you can get that available to you. Maybe some more books will end up posting this, but I do like Curtis Jones over 1.5 assists, and I'm willing to pay the -150 here. BYU, they play top 100 pace, so a few extra possessions, and they don't really force turnovers. They're only 226 nationally, and they're lower than the national average in foul rate. So by the fact that they're not forcing turnovers and not fouling, more possessions, just like against Marquette for UConn, here for Iowa State, more possessions should end in shot attempts, which means more potential assists. Jones's 14.1% assist rate also may just improve, both just overall, because his career assist rate is higher, and situationally, when we'll talk about the specifics of this situation, his career assist rate has always been over 15% every year. Now, both of those years previously were with Buffalo, so a bit of a different situation, but you'd think with Iowa State, maybe being a better shooting team, that assist rate should be a little higher. So there could be just room for natural positive regression here, but also situationally, he has an increasingly higher assist rate against conference opponents, increasing even more to top 100 opponents, and increasing even more against top 50 opponents. And obviously BYU is a top 50 opponent. So this should fit in the cohort of games where he has, over a 15% or around a 15% assist rate instead of 14%. And then Jones's shot percentage also tends to decrease in the same manner that his assist rate increases against these opponents. So if he's taking fewer shots and then assist rate, right, is the percentage of shots you're not taking, that means more shots are being taken by others, and he has a higher assist rate on those. That could really elevate his projection. And I'm not even factoring in any of that potential regression into this projection and still getting over here. Earlier this year against BYU, he had 3 assists in 24 minutes thanks to foul trouble. BYU draws fouls at one of the lowest rates in the nation, 11th lowest. So I don't expect a repeat of foul trouble here. I'm projecting him for 30 minutes, 2.4 assists, with like a 68 to 69% chance of clearing 1.5, meaning there's still value even at that -150 price.
Nick Giffen, brilliant. I'm looking forward to hopefully celebrating National Assist Day, but we always appreciate you stopping by the show.
And one other thing, I'm with Charlie and Greg on Tennessee -5.5. It's a luck ranking. It's a luck rankings play. So me and the luck rankings. I got to go Tennessee -5.5.
Fair enough. I don't blame you. Thanks again, Nick.
Anytime.
Remember, any picks we give out here on the show, like the ones you just heard from Nick, you can easily reference by following green.daily in the Action app. We keep track so you don't have to. That's going to do it for green.daily. Thanks so much for hanging with me. I'm Maria Marino, and I'll see you again tomorrow at 3 Eastern on the Action Network YouTube channel and the Action app.